Hello, Mike Searles here, the comeback coach. I'm on a mission to help 100,000 people get back on track after adversity or setbacks, back on track to success. Now, if you're like me, you like reading books and you like getting insight and inspiration from books, but the problem is finding the time to read a book, certainly finding the time to finish a book. And if you can get past chapter one of any book you're reading, you're doing better than most. So I've just interviewed a guy by the name of Michael Knight, and he's got a solution with regards to getting the most from a book without having to read it. The interview's coming up. Michael Knight. Now, Michael, where are you? Where are you based?
Based in Melbourne, Australia. Been living here all my life and spent some time in the UK living there as well, in Wimbledon, which was great. Just correct you on one little thing. So it's the world's largest free book summary website in video, written and audio format. The reason I say that is because there are bigger websites out there, but a lot of them are just written. Some are audio, and a lot of them you have to actually have a membership and subscribe to it. So, yeah, just wanted to correct that, just that little thing if anyone's playing at home.
Very important. Thank you for that, Michael. And why not mention the website of Best Book Bits now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's bestbookbits.com.
It's correct. That's right. Bestbookbits.com.
And it's
so
not
about. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
It's not books plural. It's bestbookbits.com.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Before we talk about how that got started, so you're in Melbourne and you've mentioned Wimbledon, so straight away we could cover half an hour there.
Yeah, sure.
Whereabouts in Melbourne are you?
Based near the airport. So born and raised in Tullamarine, right near the airport. Currently live in Mickleham, which is probably about 15 minutes north of the airport. So it's a nice little semi-country on the outskirts of Melbourne, probably 30 k's out of Melbourne, which is good. So I've been living here for quite a while.
Most of our audience will be international, and so their benefit, Melbourne is in which state of Australia?
Victoria. Currently under dictatorship by Daniel Andrews, but that's another story with COVID-19.
That's another interview which we would hold at midnight under closed doors, no doubt. But I'm with you, don't worry, as a fellow Melburnian. All right, Michael, so where did you go to school and what kind of an education did you have?
Yeah, just had the normal education with high school and finished that back in 2003, which was 18 years ago. Sort of loitered around a little bit, was involved in landscaping, plumbing, a few odd jobs. I've actually been in the automotive industry in sales, selling Mercedes-Benz for the last 13 years, which has been a blessing. It's been quite a good job and allowed me to sort of do a lot of traveling and live a pretty comfortable lifestyle as well. But also ties on to what I do with the book. So it's actually given me a lot of time to run my website, bestbookbits.com, and start my passion and writing my book called Success in 50 Steps, which I started writing back in 2006. So it's been about 15 years in the making. I've done currently over about 700 book summaries, and that book got published when I did about 500 book summaries. So I researched 500 book summaries to complete one book. And I am working on getting to about 2,000 book summaries before I do my next book, which is going to be sort of a big project and a big undertaking.
Project? That's an understatement because some people have a project, others have a mission. I think this sounds like an obsession, is it?
I would say it's an obsession / with a mission. So the mission is to educate, and I currently educate about 8,000 people a day through audio, written and video book summaries. It's to provide a free platform where a lot of people internationally can't afford to buy a book a day, but they can certainly get a book in a day, whether that be written, audio, or video as well. So that's a passion of mine, of educating people around the world. So what better way than get a book summary in a day? So not many people have 8 hours to read a book, but you might have 15, 20 minutes here or there to get the best book bits of a book into your mind. So that's one of the missions that I'm on.
Well, that's how I found you when I was searching online for a book summary of a book, and I didn't want to obtain the book or the audio book version. I just wanted a quick summary for the project I was working on, and that's how I stumbled across Best Book Bits,
Yep.
and that's how I came to know of you. And I often recommend to clients that rather than buy a new book right from the start or an Audible version, to look for a book summary to begin with. And now I've been referring people to Best Book Bits for that reason as well. All right, so selling Mercedes.
Do you remember what book it was?
Yeah, should have been prepared to know. No, I don't.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. So you're selling Mercedes, and so that's at a top end of luxury car market. And so you're selling new vehicles?
Yeah, I do new vehicles, yep.
And the sales training, what was that like when you were working in the car market?
Yeah, it's quite good. It's a global certification, so it allows you to sell Mercedes-Benz worldwide. It's not as prestigious as it used to be many decades ago, back in the 80s and 90s. Obviously, it's a lot more level playing field now. So prestige with Mercedes-Benz or BMW or Audi, they're very much the luxury of Toyota in a sense that they sell a lot of volume. It's not like Porsche or Lamborghini or very small volume cars. But yeah, that's another passion of mine. That's my sort of full-time gig. But the book thing, look, I'm trying to grow. It's a non-profit. So Best Book Bits is a non-profit. So the word being free, but also what I'm trying to do is create a platform where authors can come on with an audience, share their message, and basically just share knowledge out there as well. Many years ago, I used to run a movie business as well, which was before the streaming of Netflix and the YouTubes back in the day with DVDs. So that was very interesting. And then that led me on to the book industry, where I thought, you know what, everyone watches movies, everyone watches YouTube, but not everyone has the time to read a book. So I actually stumbled into it. So when researching my book, Success in 50 Steps, I only started reading when I was about 21, and I spent the first few years devouring a couple of hundred books. And I vicariously just kept notes in the book. So I'd read a book with a pen, and I would just keep notes. And then after I finished reading the book, I just typed up the notes in a written format. So I did that for a couple of hundred, and then I forgot about it. I stopped reading books for a while and got on with my life, did some traveling, got married, had a child, got a dog, as the old saying goes. And it was only back in, I think, 2014 that I wanted to reread a book that I read many years ago. And I thought, I can't be bothered reading the book. So what I'll do, I'll just read the written summary. And I thought, I don't really have time to read the written summary because it's quite boring to read a written summary. So I thought, I'll get a microphone just like this, and I'll read into the microphone. And then I'll listen to myself while I drive. And this was before Spotify. So I used mixcloud.com, where I uploaded about 300 audiobook summaries. And I thought, I'm a bit over this. I might as well just make a little video of the summary. So then I started uploading on YouTube. And it was only uploading on mixcloud.com or YouTube. I just used those places for storage. It wasn't about sharing. And the funny thing is, with SEO, people were searching those book titles with a summary. So I've never done advertising. Everything's organic, and people started to follow, people started to watch, people started to recommend books that I do summaries on. And then 4 years later, it's just snowballed to where it is now. So it's literally just one of those funny things in life where you stumble upon, and it's a bit of an obsession, and then it's something you do daily, and it's helping people around the world and educating people too. So yeah, it's just a little background to how it all begun.
Well, what a great story. I encourage listeners, visit bestbookbits.com and have a browse through. And also, you've got a YouTube channel too, don't you?
Yeah, so the main one is bestbookbits.com, which is written. Then it's actually on Spotify. So I've got a top 20 podcast in Australia. Obviously, a lot of people have more time listening to summaries, doing the dishes, going to work, walking the dog, going to the gym, than they do sitting down and watching YouTube. Yeah, but YouTube's been, it's a blessing. It's a good little platform where you can sort of watch a little video summary. It's not the greatest production quality, as I'm not skilled in creating videos. I simply just use PowerPoint to make a video, and Yeah, so it's a very simple process. It's not that glamorous, but the information's there. So,
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I've had a look at your site, obviously, and looked at book summaries there, and I'm not looking for a polished, Hollywood version of the video. I'm looking for the content. That's what I'm after.
Yeah.
And also, it's interesting you mentioned about how audio is so desirable, and even more so today, audio is becoming more prominent for a number of reasons, and a number of new platforms being launched, people launching more podcasts in the last 12 months than probably the last 9 years, or since podcasting was a thing 10 years ago. So, all right. Okay, so we've got the snapshot. We've got a guy who's in Melbourne and we're selling cars. Is that still your full-time job?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, unfortunately, okay. It's one of those industries that's very hard to leave. I mean, it's a good lifestyle. Works well with my family. It's close to home. It's one of those things. I've been doing it for so long. There's not something I would want to go into that. I don't see it as a job. It's my career. So that's my career, and it actually allows me to run Best Book Bits as a non-profit. I'm not there for the money. I'm not trying to. Yes, I have coaching programs. I've got online courses, downloadable PDFs, and they're just products that have come out of what I do. Like my book as well. It's not something that I give it away for free. You just pay the shipping. I'm not interested in the money, if that makes sense. I'm more interested in the education. So, and that's what allows me not to cross-pollinate my passion with the money side. I think a lot of people try to get the money straight away, where it's not do what you love and the money will follow. No. Have a career that can pay your bills. And then on the side, if you spend 1 or 2 hours a day for 10 years, that's a lot of time working on your passions. And then people will naturally gravitate to what you're doing because they can see you're being authentic. You're not trying to be someone that you're not. So I couldn't do this if I did it for the money because I'd be a poor person.
Actually, you remind me of how you've set it up and how you've explained it. A guy you may or may not know of, Michael Searles, who has a site called Hard to Find Seminars, and it's almost entirely on marketing, self-development marketing, and he's interviewed the biggest names in marketing, copywriting, and his site. So there's a site for somebody to look at too, hardtofindseminars.com. Michael Searles is his name. And he also does make a living out of producing content and courses, but he gives all his interviews away, or most of them, for free unless he bundles them. But anyway, back to Michael Knight. Okay, so Michael, so you must have, with now it's over 700 books that you've got, I think you said, listed and available summaries in either the written, audio or video format. Some of these would be your absolute favourites. Give me the top 3 that stand out in your mind of all the books that you've reviewed.
Yeah, got it. Number 1 would definitely be David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Have you heard of that one?
No.
Okay, so obviously he's on another planet.
How do you spell his author's name?
Goggins. Goggins.
Got it.
Yeah, I would advise people to actually read that book. Listen to the audio on Audible, where David actually, in a podcast style, goes through the book, and then watch tens of hours of David Goggins on YouTube. He basically just clocked the human psychology. So through his own personal stories as well. So that was one that really affected me. I don't practice everything that I read. So, sometimes the best teachers aren't exactly the best implementers of the idea. So, a lot of professors around the world aren't the most wealthiest people. Intellectual people have a problem with amassing knowledge. I'm not the end all be all. Another one that really started me off many years ago was Eckhart Tolle, which was The Power of Now. That was a spiritual book I read many years ago. And one of my actual gurus, my spiritual guru is actually a guy named Osho, who Netflix did a bit of a 5-part documentary series on him, which was a lot of propaganda there. But that's one man who has actually read over 100,000 books. And if you actually Google Osho Library, so OSHO, and do a little bit of research on that guy's life, very interesting. So I sort of see myself more of a scholar. A scholar is someone who, puts in hours and hours a day on research and information. And many years ago, the definition of a scholar was someone that was independently wealthy who could study all day. So I sort of see myself as a researcher first, above all everything else. So I'm just a guy who's obsessed with researching, whether that be 10,000 documentaries that I watched before I got into books. So I was just obsessed with information. So for me in the early 2000s, it was all about documentaries. So I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker, and I was just obsessed with knowledge. And then obviously I found my way into books and realized books had a little bit more contextual knowledge than documentaries. So I've always been an information obsessed person.
Okay, that's interesting. You also said the first book you read was when you were age 21, which is the same as myself. And that for me was The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale.
Vincent Peale. Yeah. I've got that book on my shelf. Yeah.
I'm sure you do. It's
and another big. I'll just go into some of my early mentors and people who really changed my thinking from where it was, pre sort of 20, which is sort of everyone goes through the teenage and the young adolescent sort of years and sort of wanders through life until they sort of meet a mentor. And my biggest mentor was Jim Rohn, which was Anthony Robbins' mentor. So I obsessed on him, devoured all the books, listened to all the audio cassette CDs, and back in the day it was torrents. So before YouTube, you had to steal the things on torrent. And obviously I was young and sort of computer savvy. So Brian Tracy, and then I got into Anthony Robbins, and then Og Mandino, and then the list goes on and on and on and on. And that sort of gave me the foundations of, okay, you've got these older gentlemen who have lived their life in their 50s, 60s, and even their 70s, just giving wisdom. And I really never had that in my life. And a lot of people don't have that physically in their life. But now, fast forward to 2021, as you said earlier, there's hundreds and thousands of podcast shows. There's hundreds and thousands of successful entrepreneurs and speakers and authors, and sort of the ocean is very, very red. Okay, very red. So there's a lot of people in the ocean. But you go back to Norman Vincent Peale, Og Mandino, Earl Shope, all the original personal development. Napoleon Hill was a massive one as well. They're sort of the foundational cornerstones of the foundation, because everyone that's on top of those blocks goes back to the original sort of source of that information. Yeah.
Yeah, all those authors would be familiar to anybody who's somewhat obsessed with personal development and also the New Thought movement. Bob Proctor is someone who I've spent a lot of time studying as well. So when somebody visits bestbookbits.com, as we encourage them to do so after this interview, what are they likely to see? How do they get around the site? What do they do there?
Yeah, it's a pretty poorly website. I've put no effort into it. The best thing to do is just go to summaries, A to Z, and then there's 3 pages, and you just scroll down. But I really need to redo the site. But the last couple of years focusing on getting the book done, which is Success in 50 Steps. But I just want to touch on the book as well. So
please do.
I wrote the book in 2007. So I originally wrote the book in 2007, and I was going to get it published, but it just wasn't sort of at that stage yet. So I procrastinated for 12 years and did 500. I researched 500 books to finish it. I rewrote it 6 times. It got rejected twice at the publishing stage. Due to copyrighted materials, I had to rewrite it over again. But it was the book was just a question on personal development. So I read so much on personal development and took so many notes, I started to see key words and topics being used over and over and again. And I just wanted to get the formula of what it was to take your dream out of your head and make it reality. And that's where the whole premise of the book was. So it was for me piecing together all these book summaries to make sense of it, to disregard all the 95%, fluff and all that stuff, and just get to the core of what they were actually talking about. So I ended up finding a theme and a formula. And once I got it, it was just locked solid. I'm like, I have to move on from personal development, because you can't study personal development for decades and decades. Just like school, you can't repeat the same year. You eventually have to graduate. So I'm like, I have to get it done. I have to move past personal development. And yeah, I teach it and I do coaching as well. And I will be releasing more videos and things soon regarding the actual book and the content. But I seen it really, really clear what the formula was. And I'm just like, I need to just put it down. And a lot of people that have read the book have said it reminded them a lot of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, when he originally, set forth on interviewing all the successful people around the world to get the formula. Well, for me, it was just nearly 300 personal development books. What are they actually saying? And that's all that's in this book. It's literally no fluff. Here's the walkthrough, how to take your dream, how to make it a reality. What are the steps? People say, why is there 50 steps to success? Well, there's not really. There could be 7 or 12, but there's 50 key words. So it's mostly to get there. And I'm just really proud that I've actually finished it and published it. So yeah, it's something I'll be teaching for the next sort of couple of decades at least. But I don't really need to read any more personal development books, which is something I'm really excited about, because it does get a little bit draining.
Congratulations then on
thanks.
The publishing of the book. And you wouldn't be the only author, would you, that's had a book knocked back? I mean, if you look at some of the biggest name authors and how their big name books were knocked back multiple times before published.
Pretty much all of them. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, only got picked up through multi-level marketing, and one guy bought 1,000 copies. So many authors. And I actually work with a lot of authors and help them promote their books too. But a book these days is more of a business card. So a lot of people don't read books these days. So a lot of speakers use a book to write a book just to become a speaker. Where I actually wrote the book for my coaching clients, because it was like, how do I streamline my thoughts into a book? So that was one of the key reasons of writing the book and putting it down. Instead of repeating myself, I can just say, read the book, watch the book, listen to the book. Tell us
about your coaching business. What sort of client do you work with?
Yeah, I work with people all around the world. As I said, it's not my full-time gig, so it's more of a pro bono. It's more of a passion thing. I've slowed down a lot with it, just with the time it takes. And that's one of the reasons I do book summaries as well, so I can just tell my coaching clients, watch this summary, read that book, because at the end of the day, books are little keys. If you can give people the right books at the right time, you can give them sort of the right keys to what they're stuck with. I'm not an expert on one field. I'm sort of a jack of all trades, and I can say, hey, research that author, read their books, listen to their content, go follow that person. I see myself as a blockbuster of books. That's sort of, you walk into Best Book Bits and you've got all the books on the shelf, and you can just say, yep, I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that. It's a platform. It's not for me. I want people to do audio summaries. I want people to create videos, read books. I'm trying to connect information with people and people together in a community as well. So however that transpires. Yeah.
Sorry, Michael.
So that's sort of the mission of it as well. So I don't know how it's going to look, but that's sort of the ambition. And there's no time frame as well. Like, a lot of people do things with a time frame. Like, I'm mid-30s. I'm still very young. I'll be doing this until I'm 80s, 90s, or whatever the age might be. So it's not going away. Information's not going away. So we've really just begun. By
the grace of God, I hope you are doing it until you're 90 or more.
Yeah, someone will do it.
That's good to see also that I noticed that you invite participation from people who are using your content, and so what that means, or you can explain it. So, what does it mean when somebody visits your site, or they see an invitation to review a book? How does that work?
Well, one of the things that really get me super excited is walking into a used bookshop. So if you go into a secondhand bookshop, you got all these stacks and stacks of old books. And if you took people and walked them through, like Blockbuster, when Blockbuster was around, and if you go to Netflix, a lot of people have seen all the movies. They've seen all the same stuff, and we can relate to certain movies. But if you use the same analogy with books, a lot of people haven't heard of certain authors. So if I say to someone, have you heard of Jim Rohn or this person? And they say no, I sort of get that feeling of, I just want to grab my head and put that head on you so you can experience that particular author or that particular book. So one of the things I'm trying to do is get all the old books, make a summary of it, make it cool, make a video, I'm trying to push the message out that, hey, yes, television, TV shows are fun. YouTube's great. I watch a lot of fails and comedy stuff, which is fantastic, but there's a lot of great information that people have just sort of bypassed. So I'm trying to bring that into the light of consciousness to say, hey, there's so much information that's been passed on to us. There's a lot of ignorance. So I'm trying to eradicate ignorance through knowledge and information. So I'm really passionate about getting old books and information and sort of getting them out there to the public who might not know who these authors and books are. Yeah.
What a great, you say passion, mission, obsession. It's really what you're on about. And, you're here talking to me and our listeners in 2021 saying that you'll be doing this for the next, however many, 50 years or more if everything goes well for you.
I can't stop it, so I apologise in advance for people who want me to stop. But and another thing, when I'm not trying to be the spokesman of Best Book Bits. I really do want it to be a platform where people can volunteer, because it's a non-profit. People can volunteer their time if they want to do a summary, or if they want to get involved and do audio recordings. I don't mind. I don't mind how it looks.
You've got a membership attached to it as well. How does the membership?
There's no membership. I don't want to do a membership because it's then paid, and then there's too many people doing that and trying to monetize something that at the end of the day, I'm involved in a non-profit homelessness charity as well, which I'll get into that another time as well. That's on a side note. We don't need these paid platforms. There's multiple book summary websites out there with paid memberships, but at the end of the day, it's not my book. So how can I put $1 on an amount that's not my information?
Right.
That's copywriting for me anyway.
Yeah.
So that would be making $1 of someone else's work. So it's not my book.
Very good, Michael.
It's not my area to do that.
Got it. So all the books you've read, all the material you've studied, and some of these classic authors are known by almost cliche quotes. Earl Nightingale, we become what we think about, for example. Do you have a favourite that comes to mind? You mentioned Jim Rohn was one of your first mentors, but do you have a quote or a saying that just pops straight to your head when asked?
Yeah, it's actually my own. So we paint our life with the decisions that we make. So what that means is every day we're painting with an invisible brush. And that invisible brush is our decisions. And we make thousands of micro decisions a day. We might make a few major decisions a week, a couple of major decisions in our lifetime, but everyone's got a different brush and everyone's painting with their decisions every day and what they do, who they are. So yeah, you paint your life with the decisions that you make. Everyone makes different decisions. Everyone lives a different lifestyle as well. So there's no right or wrong. It's just going on painting every day. It's a new canvas and we just paint. That's all we do.
The people listening to this or viewing it on YouTube or wherever it's published are likely to be people who are coming back from some kind of a setback or adversity. They're getting back on track. You have a book that comes to mind that that you think would be very applicable to somebody who's coming back from an adversity or a setback?
I'll ask you that question because we haven't really chatted before this interview, and you do the comeback coach. So you tell me a little bit about who you work with and sort of what your mission is with what you're trying to achieve with the podcast.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm happy to do that. I want this about Michael Knight. I want
to learn a little bit about what you're trying to do as well, because I'm going to put this on my channel to my audience who already know a little bit about me. But I'd love to for them who are listening now to find out a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Well, very, very briefly. So I'm a coach who is helping people to come back from an adversity or a setback and to get back on track and to be successful again. Most people that I'm working with have had traction and have had some kind of a success in their life, so they're not coming from a zero starting point, coming back. They've lost their mojo for some reason or another. It could be financial, could be health related, could be relationships, could be a number of things, or all combination of all those. And so that's what I'm doing. And so I'm constantly recommending books. I'm very hooked into the New Thought movement. And so authors, one of the books that helped me when it was coming back from my own adversity in 2009 was a book that's got nothing to do with coming back from adversity per se, but it has everything to do with coming back from adversity, which sounds like a silly thing to say. But the author is the book was written in 1908, published around 1910, 1911. Wallace D. Wattles is the author, and the book is Science of Getting Rich. And my comeback was health-related, and so I applied everything that Wallace D. Wattles wrote about getting rich. And by the way, he emphasises, as does Napoleon Hill. In fact, Napoleon Hill puts monetary richness at the bottom of the list of richness. And Wallace D. Wattles, while he does emphasise rich as being material wealth, I translated everything he said about rich and getting rich to regaining my health and staying healthy again. My adversity was alcoholism, and it almost killed me. And so in 2009, I embarked on the journey of stopping drinking and getting healthy again, which is what I've been able to do. So that's where my story goes from. And so I'm helping people. And the book I like to recommend is Wallace D. Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich. I hope that answers the question and helps your own audience, Michael.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like what you've done and changed the word from riches to health, because it all relates. And it's a fantastic book. I do remember that book vividly, and I've done a summary of that too. But it's funny you say alcoholism. I've got a history and some personal stories with alcoholism as well. And yeah, it's one of those little slight things that people don't sort of take too seriously until someone's been affected by it and can understand. And I'm happy to chat, off the podcast a little bit about that as well. But I appreciate you sharing the story. And what's for you in the next sort of few years with the podcast, and what do you want to achieve?
Growth. We've got certain plans in the pipeline, Michael, and we can talk about those. Thanks again for asking, but I really do want this event to be about Michael Knight and about Best Book.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just because my audience, just before sort of you wrap up a story, where can my audience sort of find a little bit about what you're doing? So where can
terrific. MikeSearles.com, MikeSearles.com. I've got a free PDF there. A free PDF about getting life back on track. And I hope that's helpful for anyone who you reach out to, Michael, who happens to find that. So what projects are you working on at the moment, and where would you like people to go mostly to see about your work?
Yeah, no projects. Like I've got a couple of things on the side that I'm doing sort of privately in my personal life. I've actually got a baby on the way, due in another 8 weeks. So that would be a good addition to the family, which is going to be good. But there's nothing I can really. No, second. I've got a little. Yeah, I've got a young boy who's a teenager, going to be a teenager soon. So yeah.
Look, I say, Michael, when you've got two kids is when you really enter the land of the living. All right, one kid is terrific, and challenges come. When you've got two, you really know you're in the land of the living. So congratulations in advance.
Appreciate it.
So where do people go, Michael?
So just Best Book Bits on YouTube, Spotify, or the website, or Instagram. You can find me too. But I'm just really head down on doing audios and creating more book summaries. I mean, there's so many books I have to summarize. I've pretty much got hundreds and hundreds in the pipeline to do. So I'm just going to do that. So for me, it's just a process. Just continue doing what I'm doing. I'm not really trying to be anywhere or achieve anything. I'm just trying to live and enjoy the process as well.
We've been talking with Michael Knight, founder of Best Book Bits, his passion, his project, his mission, his obsession. And Best Book Bits is the world's largest free book summary website of written, audio, and video book summaries. He's also the author of the book, which he's very proud of. Pull it up again, Michael. Success in 50 Steps, which he's told us he makes available for free if you just pay for postage, and you'll find a link on the bestbookbits.com site for that.
No, I don't think I've put it on there, but you'll find it in the show notes of any of the summaries on YouTube or Spotify as well. But
Terrific. So we really are grateful, Michael, that you've given us the time to share us a little bit about your life, your projects, your interests, your passion, this non-profit project that you've got, which is terrific. I highly encourage my own audience, visit Michael's site, bestbookbits.com. You know, if you're a client of mine, that I often recommend books and multiple books, and being an avid reader, and I forget that not everybody is an avid reader like me, and so I do like to recommend summaries and good book summaries when I find them, and I found a good resource of book summaries, and it's now my primary number one resource, bestbookbits.com. Michael Knight, thanks again for joining us, and good luck and best wishes.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.